Hi friends, Mindy here. Welcome back to another full deck challenge video. This is the card from last week that I did. I'm going to be pulling in some of that same paper for this week as my carryover item. And the prompt for this week is yellow. So I'm going to be trying to focus on that. You can see I have pulled in this paper from last week. And so every week you have a carryover item, and then you have kind of a constant item, which mine is the word. And then there's additionally a prompt, which this week is yellow. So if you are not familiar with the full deck challenge, go check out Shana over at Shanuki Art. This is her third year hosting this. Every year she kind of has done the prompts a little bit differently. And so I really like this one. Now, I am not using actual playing cards. So one of the prompts or kind of rules, quote unquote, that she has is to kind of leave the number of the card in the suit. But obviously I'm working on Project Life type cards, and so I won't be able to do that, but I am trying to use up some of these cards in my stash. So I just very messily sketched a little heart. I wanted a really wonky heart. And I actually sketched it bigger than what I thought I would need so that I could kind of trim it down and make it, the way that I wanted, in terms of just a little bit wonky, a little bit, I wasn't trying for something that was super symmetrical. And then I have this card that I'm going to be using that's nice and bright, different colors that kind of pull all of these colors from this heart together. So I'm going to just sort of play around with some different ideas. I had a bunch of ideas. I had this yellow paper left over. I'm trying to use up my scraps as well. And so I thought maybe I could use this, but in the end it was just a little bit more bold. And I know that one of the things that I'm going to be using, this is actually my carryover item, is a word. So I am using the word from my Word Study Wednesday videos, and I wanted this word to just be very bold. And even though the word is hid, it's a very small word, but I want this strip to go all the way across the card. So I use a diamond label maker. So I just made some spaces in front of the word hid, and then I made some spaces after it, and then I clipped it so that I can kind of position this however I want. And then I came in with a different yellow and white, since there's so much white in the background. This is just some pattern paper that has been in my stash forever. I had kind of gone around and pulled a few yellow things that I could find. Yellow is not one of those colors I tend to gravitate towards, so I had to do some digging to find it. You can kind of see this is my idea with that word. I did pull out some Tim Holtz things as well. And then just to pull in another kind of color and some contrast here, I did pull in this other piece of pattern paper that I've had in my stash. There's just a little bit of green in it, and there's some in the heart, and there's also some in the background paper. And so I feel like this is going to kind of help pull all of the things together. So I'm just going to go through and ink everything. I just feel like that's going to give this a little bit more definition as well. And then I am going to glue this to this pattern paper, and then I will trim out the heart again, so it's going to have a little border around it. I am using art glitter glue. You could use anything really. I like art glitter glue because it dries really quickly. So again, just inking up this other piece of paper that I'm going to be putting down here on the bottom section. I just wanted to add a little bit of contrast and something kind of different at the bottom of this card. So the whole point of these little cards, these full deck challenge cards, is that they're almost like little mini collage. That's kind of what we're focusing on this year. And this is just a good way to really, like, if you're trying to improve a skill, just to kind of repeatedly, do it over and over again. And so I like creating little collages and clusters and things, and working on an area that's kind of small kind of takes off some of the pressure. And so this is just a really fun challenge. I'm also trying to keep myself, so that I'm not doing this for hours a day. I really am trying to make this a pretty quick process. So you can see here I have my heart. So I don't know if you can tell, but like the triangle point of all of that background paper is just a little off center. It's not like right down the center of this card. It's just skewed a little bit left. And so I want the point of my heart to kind of match up with that. So it's not going to be completely centered in there. And then I pulled out a couple of Tim Holtz things, a little yellow label and that same kind of light green color. And then I thought I would do a postage stamp as well. So I'm just flipping through my little book here that I have some vintage postage stamps. This one obviously is not vintage, but it did have the yellow around the edge, and that red I kind of thought helped pull in some of those other colors as well. In the end, I end up covering that up because when I glued this down, I actually moved it over a little bit. So I thought I was applying glue here so that I could kind of piece all these items together and glue them down as one. It just kind of helps to do that. And my glue was actually clogged, which was actually a very good thing because I realized I had not inked all of these other little pieces. So I went around these really quickly. I'm just using archival ink in ground espresso here for all of the inking of these little itty bitty bits. I just felt like the card with the heart was just too stark by itself. It just needed a little bit more interest. So I'm adding just a little bit of these little labels down here to kind of help with this collage. So you can kind of see I am moving this over so that the points of the heart are like kind of lined up with that background. And so I'm just layering everything, trying to get this back the way that I had it when I thought I was gluing everything together. And then I'm going to come through and I'm actually gluing these little pieces together. And so I like to do it this way whenever I'm layering things. It just helps me so that I can kind of keep everything in place. And then I will glue the whole thing down as one piece. It just makes sure that I can kind of get everything where I want it. So I'm going to, again, line this up with those points. And at this point, I kind of thought that I would basically finished with this card. And then you'll see I kind of changed my mind, but I do need to add my word. This is my, again, my constant item is I'm going to be using a word. So this word is hid. I'm going kind of back and forth between how I want this. In the end, I do end up centering it, and I actually center it over, specifically over the part that says love on that postage stamp, because I had covered too much of the L, so all you could see was OVE, and to me, in my brain, it looked weird. So I'm just holding this in place, kind of where I want it, and then I'm going to start peeling the backer off of this label maker. So I really love my little Dymo label maker, and it's just been sitting there unloved for a little while, so I think this is a good way to use it up. I don't know if I'll use the Dymo on every card, but I'll definitely have a word on every card. And then on the back here is where I will write out the verse from my word study on the back, and the challenge information as well. So I'm just making sure this is pressed down really well. And then this is where I kind of thought it needed just a little bit more contrast, I guess. And since I have that very, very bold black label across, right across the middle of the card, I'm going through with a fine liner pen. This is an 05, I think, nib. And I'm going around the shape of the heart and the little outline heart as well. Just right at the edge, I'm making very sketchy lines, like not trying to make a perfect line. I want it to be sketchy because there's a lot of line work in that pattern paper. And then I decided I would go through and do the same thing to the little sections of the background. Very sketchy lines, just like short little strokes to make it really look very, very sketchy. So I'm going to do this to both sides, just following the angles of these. I don't know if you would call it a chevron really, but just the angles of the colors in the background. Again, super sketchy lines. And you do that really just with short little strokes. So even all the way down, I'm going to do that. And then I felt like it needed something else still. So I went around and did a border as well. Typically that kind of helps me feel like everything is finished. I wish I had rounded the corners on this card because my other two cards have rounded corners. But that's okay. This one's just going to be square, and that's fine. And then adding just a few little marks, and I thought I was finished. This is where I was kind of like, okay, I think I'm done. And then I decided that no, in fact, I wasn't. So I actually zoomed in a little bit so you can kind of see this pattern paper down here at the bottom. I'm just randomly going around and outlining a few of these little like brick looks. And then I'm going to go in, and I just felt like it still needed something. That background was just really, really flat. So I'm just going in each one of these little sections and kind of doing a little dot, almost like stippling. And so I'm concentrating more dots toward the edge of the paper and then scattering them less and less as it comes in toward the middle. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can kind of see what I'm doing here, except my hand is sort of in the way. But so really, highly concentrated kind of at the edges, and then getting a little bit more sparse as you come into the page. It just kind of draws your eye toward the center of the page just a little bit more. And then I went around those little Tim Holtz pieces, and that's it for me. So if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Join my Facebook group. The information is in the description. And until next time, bye.